Hello there, everyone. Mediocre Otaku here. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different and talk about the very convoluted dubbing history of the Dragon Ball franchise. This is a franchise that is very important to me, as well as many other people out there. And I just have always thought that it's been super interesting that, the Funimation version that everyone knows is just one of many different dubs for this franchise. So, without further ado, let's begin the first episode of anime history. So, to begin with, I want to talk about the supposed Frontier Enterprises dub of Dragon Ball. Now, the only information that we have that suggests that this even exists is there was a voice actor who said that he was casted for a role in this movie. Um, this dub happened supposedly in 1987, so it even predates the Harmony Gold dub, which is what I will talk about next. Um, but there's literally nothing, like no scripts, no audio clips, nothing to actually prove that this dub exists. Now, I don't think this actor is lying. It's just that this is completely lost media as far as I can tell. But there has been thought to be completely lost Dragon Ball media that has managed to turn up in recent years. So you never know. There's a chance that this dub could resurface at some point. Presumably, they just dubbed the first Dragon Ball movie, and they would show it on airlines from flights from Japan to America, because Frontier Enterprises did that a lot back in the day. But as far as we know, if it even aired at all, that is how it was aired, was on Japanese airlines.
Danger, danger, daring, daring, deadly, deadly, dragon, dragon, Zero is our hero.
The first dub that actually has any audio and visual stuff for us to listen to and watch is the Harmony Gold dub, produced in 1989. Now, this dub was thought to be mostly completely lost. It only aired on two TV stations in 1989, but somehow someone miraculously stumbled across some old VHS tapes in their house that contained everything. Um, Only the first 5 episodes were recorded and aired on TV, as well as a mashup of movies 1 and 3. And what's interesting about this release is that all of the original music is maintained. There's an English version of the adventure theme, which is not the only one there is, because Funimation also did that once they started recording their stuff in house. But it's interesting nonetheless. However, there were some pretty major changes, to avoid any sort of sexually explicit content. Um, and they even changed like pretty much all the characters' names, which was just sort of the standard practice at the time. Harmony Gold also did Robotech, which is what they did there. Um, yeah, Goku's name was changed to Zero, and Bulma's name was changed to Lena. As just a couple of examples. Uh, pretty much look up any other character and you will find another example of that happening. But it was really awesome when this dub came to the surface because I had seen clips of it online, and it was just some sort of random audio clips here and there. I remember them talking about Whiskers the Wonder Cat, which was obviously what they named Karian. Um, but I was super confused because I was like, "There's no way they dubbed all the way up to the Red Ribbon Army stuff," and then it turns out it was part of the script for the mashup of movies 1 and 3. But I will post a link in the description where you can read up a little bit more on this dub as well as watch it because I just think it's super cool that we managed to get this version, and it'd be awesome for Funimation to include it as a special feature if they ever decide to re-release anything other than Dragon Ball Z at some point.
Get that Dragon Ball! Get that Dragon Ball! Face the greatest challenge in the world. Get that Dragon Ball! 7 Mega Balls to make a wish.
Around 1993 to 1994, a dub of Dragon Ball was produced for the Philippines. Now, this dub is basically completely lost at this point, other than the opening, so I can't honestly say that much. From what I've been able to find, it seems like they managed to cover at least up until the King Piccolo arc with this dub, but again, I have almost basically nothing to go on with this dub. And but you never know. People managed to find the Harmony Gold dub at some point, so it's entirely possible that this dub could be found too. It's got to be hiding out somewhere, unless it got burned up in a fire or something.
He's gonna show you. He's gonna help you find the way. Goku, he's gonna show you. He and his friends are gonna save the day.
The next dub that was produced was actually from Funimation before they had their own in-house recording studio and before the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z. For this production, Funimation teamed up with BLT Productions, which also brought in voice talent from Ocean Studios, so you might hear some familiar voices in there. But they produced the first 13 episodes of the TV series, and surprise, surprise, we got yet another dub of movie 1. So this is kind of like the second and a half dub that we've gotten of this movie at this point. But this dub is it's interesting because initially, and I'm going to include a link in the description for comparison video, but Funimation was going to retain all of the name changes that the Harmony Gold dub introduced. But at some point during production, they decided to re-record everything that used these old names and go with the original Japanese names. I'm not sure why that decision was made, especially during this time, right? Like, anime being dubbed at this time was, especially to the ones that were targeted towards kids, were also trying to be more Americanized. Like, if go back and look at any of the stuff that 4Kids did, it's crazy. Like the lengths that they went to over stuff that kids would not even notice, like changing the side of the roads that people are driving on and everything. It was whoever was in charge of 4Kids had some sort of issue. This dub also had an entirely different musical score, which I'm going to assume is the first time that was done. Again, we don't have any like real crazy documentation of the Frontier Enterprises dub, but I doubt they would have changed the score or opening or ending or anything. But what's also super interesting about this dub is that it's not nearly as censored as one might think, where Yamcha starts following him and he accidentally sees Bulma naked in the bus. yeah, I guess it's a bus that they're traveling in. It's not like censored or anything. Um, like Bulma's nipples are just barely covered by some reflections on the glass, and it's like that in this version as well. I thought for sure if they were gonna um, include this scene, they'd at least try to blur out more of it, but no, um, surprisingly. So this dub is I own the DVD sets of this, which is another sort of mess that Funimation got themselves into because they teamed up for with Trimark for the physical release of this, and there was some sort of rights issue where for years until Funimation released the season sets, they were not allowed to release um, any sort of other dubbed version of these episodes, I believe. I think that's what the issue was. So for the longest time, you had like these original 13 episodes and movie one that were just completely different from the rest of the franchise.
Let's try, look high and low. Search the sky and the sea below. Let's try, seize the day.
Finally, we make it to the Funimation dub. It seems like this took way longer than it should have, but there's a lot of stuff to cover. This is obviously a dub that most people are most familiar with. You know, it's on all of the home video releases and streaming services and whatever. And I don't have a whole lot to say about this because it was sort of being co-produced alongside of Dragon Ball Z, and I want to just once I get to Dragon Ball Z, I have way more to talk about with the whole Funimation dub and Ocean dub and everything. So I would like to expand upon that a little bit more there. For here, though, I don't really have a whole lot to say. It's just like the logical next step after Funimation started dubbing Dragon Ball Z. But what's really interesting to me is how Funimation went about dubbing the movies. So the first thing that Funimation ever produced in-house was movie 2. And the voice cast for that is so different than what we ended up with the TV series. This dub was, I believe they started at least working on it, and I think it was released in 1998. And Goku's, I'm not a fan of Goku's voice actor in this one. She just did this really weird, like, half whispering thing the whole time. Not a fan, but it's. I love seeing this super early stage of Funimation before they really got a grasp on the whole sort of dubbing thing. And even movie 3, while it doesn't have nearly the same amount of differences with the voice actors, it still came out in 2000, which was super early on in Funimation's dub of DBZ. So again, there was a lot of voice actors that weren't really finalized. And then by the time we get to movie 4, everything is sort of as it should be. But for some reason, Funimation didn't ever record a dub of movie 1, which it seems weird to me. You think they'd want to just have that on hand for when eventually they would get the home video rights back from Trimark. But so they never recorded a dub for that until it was time to release the movie 4-pack. And by that point, Stephanie Nadolny was gone, so Colleen Clinkenbeard replaced her for Goku's voice actor, and that's really the only major change. But it's crazy that how different all of these dubs ended up being for the movies. I think it's super cool, but maybe that's just me. last dub that I need to talk about for Dragon Ball is the Blue Water dub, which aired in Canada and UK, and a few other countries that I have a hard time finding. Um, but Canada and UK were the two major markets for this dub. Um, Not a whole like it's very unclear as to why this dub was made. Um, AB Group was involved, which was a French company that was involved with distributing the series throughout Europe. It's thought that they ordered this dub to be made, um, presumably because it was cheaper to produce than to license Funimation's dub. Um, which that seems crazy to me, but I think we've seen that recently with Netflix's dub of Baki, and then Sentai Filmworks having to produce their own separate dub of it. So it's a thing that happens, um, and it's also thought that this was aired in Canada because there are some laws in Canada that say a certain percentage of stuff that's aired has to be produced in Canada. So it's thought that this was just aired there to meet broadcasting standards. Again, it's there's not like a clear-cut 100% definitive answer for why this dub was made or why it was aired, but this dub has easily the worst opening out of all of the Dragon Ball openings. It is god awful. But what's weird is that the Canada and the UK versions are different. Canada definitely has the worst one, which is just an English version of the opening they used in France. But when it aired in the UK, they did some weird like synthy, heavier remix thing to it, which makes it sound better. It's almost unrecognizable. But this dub, as far as I can tell, used Funimation's script as the base. Maybe they tweaked something in there, which is what happened in the when the Ocean dub returned, which we'll get to very soon. Um, Ocean dub for DBZ. No, there was no Ocean dub for Dragon Ball, just to be clear. But yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this because I've only seen a few clips here and there on YouTube, but I haven't minded what I've heard. It's just another case of another dub that is never going to get a physical release, which it had to be weird living in all these countries where this dub aired because you grow up hearing this version of it, and then later down the line, maybe you decide, oh, Dragon Ball's out on DVD, maybe I'll pick it up, and it sounds completely different to how you remembered it. For any of the casual fans, they must think that there's some sort of weird Mandela effect thing going on, but no, you just this is not the dub you grew up with. It's as simple as that. With that, I think it's time to move on to Dragon Ball Z, and I'm very excited to do that because there is way more to talk about with Dragon Ball Z. But that's going to have to wrap it up for today's video. This took me much longer than I was anticipating. I honestly had no idea about the whole Frontier Enterprises thing or the Creative Productions dub before starting this video, so that added some extra research that I had to do onto this already research heavy project that I knew I was getting into. But hopefully, part two, which will be all of Dragon Ball Z, will be out within a month. It's difficult working like 40 plus hours a week and doing this, and also just like having time to hang out and play video games and stuff. But if you're still watching this, thank you so much for watching this till the end. I kind of assume this video is not going to do well because anytime I try to branch out, it doesn't work out well for me, which sucks because every time I do try to branch out, it involves way more effort and it never pays off. But I enjoy doing the research, so I plan on
doing another episode for DBZ, and then probably a third one for GT and Kai and Dragon Ball Super. But that'll do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Stand by for Dragon Ball Z. Coming next.